My name is Devin. I'm the General Counsel and Atlantic Director with the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, and are here today on behalf of thousands of Canadian taxpayers who want to see the carbon tax scrapped. This is for three key reasons. First, the carbon tax makes life too expensive. Secondly, Canadians should not be punished for the necessities of life, like driving to work or getting groceries, and the carbon tax is ultimately not working. First, let's talk about that cost to Canadians. It's currently $80 per ton, which adds 18 cents to a litre of gasoline, 21 cents to a litre of diesel, and 15 cents to a cubic metre of natural gas. If you look at this costs about an extra $13 for someone to fill up a minivan, $20 extra to fill up a pickup truck, and about $200 extra to fill up a big rig truck with diesel. And let's talk about truckers. Nearly everything we need is brought by a truck. This is no more true than in my home province of Newfoundland and Labrador, where food is delivered by boat to the island's west coast and then trucked 900 kilometers to the island's east coast, where most of the population is. When you charge a carbon tax of 21 cents per litre on diesel, you are charging more for everything. And the Canadian Trucking Alliance came out, says the federal carbon tax will cost that industry about $2 billion this year. And it's not just about the truckers. Let's talk about farmers who grow the food that the truckers bring. They pay the carbon tax on fuels they use to heat their barns, dry grain, and keep livestock alive throughout the very cold winter. The PBO, the Parliamentary Budget Officer, says the carbon tax will cost Canadian farmers $1 billion extra by the year 2030. And I'd like to use this opportunity briefly to thank the members of the Conservative Party, the NDP, and the Bloc for voting to exempt farm fuels from the carbon tax. I understand the bill has been gutted by the Senate and sent back to the House, the unelected Senate, but that's a matter for another day. Let's talk about home heating. We live in a very cold country, and heating our homes is essential for survival. The government admitted that this is a problem when they exempted, for political gains, one would argue, certain fuels for predominantly benefiting Atlantic Canadians. Yet across this country, people are still struggling to heat their homes who did not receive any form of exemption. For example, the average Alberta household will pay about $440 extra for home heating this winter. It's no surprise that there's a constitutional challenge launched in Alberta to these exemptions. And we wish this government would consider the position of the late leader of the NDP, Jack Layton, who even opposed putting a carbon tax on home heating fuels because ultimately it is wrong. Secondly, let's talk about affordability. Canadians should not be punished for the basics of life, driving to work, heating their homes. They have, in most cases, no other choice but to do those things. Yet about half of Canadians are within $200 of not being able to make the minimum monthly payments on their bills. These people are scraping by. We're hearing from them every day, receiving letters and emails from supporters who are pulled very difficultly by this carbon tax. And we can go back again to the recent PBO report that shows the carbon tax will cost the average household about $400 extra this year, more than $900 by the year 2030, and that's with the rebates factored in. So despite what the Prime Minister said in Brazil, I think those families who are in survival mode, they rightly value feeding their children over paying his carbon tax. Lastly, the carbon tax is not working. In British Columbia, where this tax was first brought in Canada, the government promised a 33% reduction in emissions below 2007 levels by 2020. Instead, emissions went up by more than 2%. In 2021, the federal government said it would reduce emissions by 40 to 45% below 2005 levels, and the data is clearly showing that this is not happening, where we went up in emissions. Overall, this carbon tax experiment is a failure. It is causing huge financial gain without the promised environmental gain. It's making life too expensive, and Canadians should not be punished for driving to work and heating their homes. And ultimately, it's not working, and thus, on behalf of thousands of Canadian taxpayers, we are here today to ask the government to scrap this carbon tax. Thank you.